Hi, everybody. I am Marion Cock, the official sex symbol on TCB Radio Network, where everything is about Elvis. It is all about Elvis.
Hello, all you Elvis fans. This is Krista Joy, founder of TCBRadioNetwork.com.
And I'm your co-host of TCB Radio Network and Elvis tribute artist, Peter Alden. Welcome to the TCB Radio Network podcast. Get ready for some Elvis content and news you can use, where it's all Elvis, all the time.
Interviews with authors, Elvis fan club presidents, artists, musicians, and of course, close personal friends of Elvis Presley, people who knew him, the man himself.
Thank you for tuning in.
Now sit back, relax, and enjoy.
It's time for the TCB Radio Network podcast.
Hey, all you Elvis fans, it's July 23rd, 2018. Welcome to the TCB Radio Network podcast. Today, we have our fantastic interview with Ray Walker just for you, right after some special announcements.
Don't forget to catch us on Facebook Live every Tuesday for Elvis news you can use, videos, this day in Elvis history, and more. Tune in Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time to facebook.com/TCB Radio.
All right, and first up, we've got an announcement about how you can go cruising with the King. That's right, April 1st through 5th, 2019, you can join us, me and Peter, and the official sex symbol of TCB Radio, Miss Marion Cock, on this cruise, along with Elvis's co-star Cynthia Pepper and many more talented performers. All you got to do is contact Mia Burwell. Her number is 888-969-4768, extension 78268, or email her, wburwell@wth.com to book. Now, don't forget to use code PA1 for a special gift from Lucky's Jukebox Memories and Peter Alden Entertainment. Don't worry about writing all this down right now. You can go back and read it. It's all up at facebook.com/TCBradio/events. And you can also check our website for details on Cruising with the King, TCBRadioNetwork.com.
Also, make plans now to attend Marion Cock's Elvis Presley Memorial Dinner. The 2018 EPMD will be held at the Peabody Hotel in the Skyway Room on Monday, August 13th at 7:30 p.m. The dress code is semi-formal to formal. Tickets are on sale now. You may contact Lori McGee Holland on Facebook or call her at 662-322-5956 or 662-862-5647 after 5 p.m. Central Time. You may also send Marion Cock your checks or money orders to Marion Cock, 784 Pecan Gardens Circle East, Memphis, Tennessee, 38122. Details and more are also on our Facebook page and tcbradionetwork.com. Tickets are $90 each. There will also be entertainment, a high-end basket raffle, and live auction. Raffle tickets will be sold on site that night, and debit and credit cards will be taken for those as well.
All right, so next up, we're here to tell you about a little secret. That secret is actually one of Citrus County, Florida's very best-kept secrets, and right in where the same location where Elvis filmed Follow That Dream at the Old Courthouse Heritage Museum, you can catch a show on August 16th, 2018, featuring Peter Alden's tribute to Elvis with a full band. That's right. So we are part of the summer concert series out there at the Inverness Historical Courthouse. You can get tickets by calling 352-341-6428, or just check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/Peter Alden Fans for details on where you can get tickets and more. Don't miss that fantastic show filmed right there where Elvis filmed Follow That Dream. It's going to be a blast. Also, we're kind of having a meetup here in Orlando if you'd like to join us. We're going to be attending a viewing of Elvis's 68 comeback special at AMC Disney Springs 24. We would love for you to join us. We're going to be doing the August 20th showing at 7:30 p.m. If you can't make our meetup, details on the film and getting tickets in your area can be found at tcbradionetwork.com. This movie is showing everywhere, both August 16th and 20th, so be sure to check out our website for details, locations, and join us if you'd like. We're going to be at Disney Springs for that movie on August 20th. We'd love to see you there. So next up, we're going to start talking a little bit more about our interview for you today.
Absolutely. As Elvis's career skyrocketed, the popularity of the Jordanaires as background singers grew as well. Elvis acknowledged on numerous occasions that their vocal backing contributed to his success. The Jordanaires performed with Elvis from 1956 to around 1970, during which time they were in 28 movies, either soundtrack or appearances in the movies, all of his RCA recordings, and all of his concerts. Our guests on the line for you now today remembers these happy times, singing around the piano at Graceland with Elvis, and describes Elvis as a fun-loving guy who was always a pleasure to be around.
Ray Walker joined the Jordanaires officially June 1st, 1958. Since that time, while working with Jordanaires, Ray has found time to be involved in over 3,000 sing-outs, youth rallies, and appearances of his own. He had a successful daily morning show called Your Own Time on the ABC channel in Nashville in 1976. Ray has done modeling, numerous radio, television, magazine, and newspaper commercials locally and nationally. He was also a deputy sheriff as a liaison between troubled youth and distraught families for 20-some years. And as were all the Jordanaires, he was an honorary member of the Tennessee governor's staff in Tennessee for several years. Since 1950, the Jordanaires have worked with literally hundreds of the top rock, country, gospel, and pop artists in the entertainment field, and have been on billions of records during this time. In 1956, they first recorded with a long-haired, hip-swinging rock and roller from Memphis, Tennessee by the name of Elvis Presley, and their lives were never the same. For more information about Ray Walker and the Jordanaires, don't forget to visit raywalker.net or jordanaires.net. Without further ado, here's the one with Ray Walker of the Jordanaires. Among the accolades the group has received during Ray Walker's tenure with the Jordanaires is an induction into the Country Music Hall of Fame, the North American Country Music Association International Hall of Fame, the Gospel Music Hall of Fame, Rockabilly Hall of Fame, Vocal Group Hall of Fame, and others. Ray was inducted into the Rockabilly Hall of Fame individually in 2013, and he is reservedly believed to be the most recorded voice in the history of music during his 66 years of performing. More on Ray at his websites raywalker.net and thejordanaires.net. Ray Walker, thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you for asking. Yeah, and you said that's 66 years of performing. I'm 84 now, and you subtract 6 from that. I've been performing for 78 years.
Wow. I'm way behind. Yeah, 66 is not enough. But you're still such a young guy.
All right, Ray, we're going to jump right in here. How did you become a member of the Jordanaires?
Well, all my life, I've never had to apply for a job. Whenever I needed one, there was one there. And I had graduated from college in 1957 and was the associate principal of a school here in Davidson County. And Gordon Stoker, who rarely got up before 9 o'clock because they worked late, had gotten up real early and called the David Lipscomb Music Department. Louis Nunley, who sang with the Anita Kerrs and finally became with us when the Kerrs broke up, told Gordon. Gordon says, well, we can't find a bass singer. What are we going to do? We tried out, took a couple of hundred, and I don't know whether that figure is correct or not. He said, well, if anybody wants good singers, they usually call Lipscomb. So he got up early that morning and called in. Well, we have a 30-minute free period at the school from 7:30 to 8, and my kids were doing whatever they do. And I was trying to call the music department to tell the head of the department that I was sending a medal that I had won there my first year for song leading contest, so that she could present it on stage, because hers had not come in from New York and she wasn't going to fake it. So anyway, it was busy and it was busy and it was busy. And in about 10 minutes it rang in, and Buddy Arnold, who was rarely on time, he was a music teacher there, picked up the phone, and I gave him the message about the medal. He said, well, listen, I was just talking to Gordon Stoker. They need a bass singer for the Jordanaires. Would you be interested? I said, well, not really. I think there's a change coming. In fact, I know there's a change coming May 31st. I can just feel it. That's when the school would be out. And I said, well, just give him a number and tell him to call me after 4 o'clock. I'll be home. So around 4:15 or so, Gordon called the house. I answered, and he told me the story about talking to Buddy Arnold and asked me when I could come down and try out. I said, well, when do you suggest? He said, well, we finished the show tonight at WSM radio at 11 o'clock. I said, okay, I'll come down. So I went down and sang with them, and my range was lower than the bass singer they'd had. And also I could sing falsetto girl parts. I had about 4 octaves to 5 octaves range. I always fooled around with my voice when I was a kid. So anyway, when we were working there, Neil Matthews wrote some stuff on a sheet of paper and pitched it to me and said, do you know what that is? I said, yeah, that's 18th century harmony. It's just not written right. It's the number system that Neil Matthews introduced into the recording business, where you number your chords instead of writing them down. And he looked kind of strange, and Gordon had a music career in college, and he didn't tell Neil that 18th century harmony was Roman numerals and numbered the chords. So I wrote it right and pitched it back to him and just laughed. He said, well, I didn't know that was a subject. I said, well, it is. I said, you thought of it just as good as the guy in the 18th century, nothing wrong with it. Anyway, when I got back to school the next day, on Thursday, he called me and he said, can you go to California with us Friday? I said, let me find out. Well, they let me off for a week or two. So in April of '58, I went to Hollywood with them. We worked with Rick Nelson and Tommy Sams and did 4 singles for the Jordanaires. And then we got back. Well, he called me the next Thursday after we got back and said, well, can you go to the Dick Clark show with us? I said, no, I've been off. My kids need me for the final exams. The SATs are coming in, so I can't go. He said, well, what if I told you if you can't go on this trip, we'll have to take our second choice? I said, well, you just have to take them, because I don't break contracts. If I break this one to go with you, I'll break yours to go with somebody else. He said, well, okay, when could you come down to the Opry and observe? I said, when is it? He said, Saturday night. I said, Saturday night. So I went down on Saturday night and met people, and went down several times before the end of the school year. And on June 1st, I legally came with the Jordanaires. Well, Gordon was a little nervous about the new bass singer anyway, and was wanting some sessions that were just in town. Well, my very first recording section after legally being with the Jordanaires was Elvis Presley on June the 10th, and I thought Gordon was going to faint.
Oh, no.
But anyway, so we got there, and one of Gordon said, can you put an edge on your voice sometime? Because he said, you sound like Pat Boone on Low C. Well, Pat and I were roommates in college for a year. Well, anyway, we were standing at RCAB, and I was about 90 degrees from the back door, and Elvis came in the load-in door that day. And Gordon says, here comes Elvis. Well, I turned around, and he was right on me, and he with his hand out. So I shook his hand. I said, I'm Ray Walker. He said, I'm Elvis Presley. I said, I know who you are. I'm Ray Walker. He says, and I know who you are. That rascal had checked me out.
Oh, no.
Without
That
Google,
was a
he
long
already
answer
knew
to
who
your
you were.
question, but you asked me how I came with him, and that was it.
That's amazing. Now, I know you officially took the Jordanaires job on June 1st, 1958, after school ended, because you wanted to keep that commitment. And I've read that you have said every major turn in your life has never been planned, that you never filled out a job application in your whole life. You never worried about it. You just always knew the job and the money would be there. So I was just wondering, how can we all work to have faith like that?
Well, I didn't know to. My dad was a minister, and he taught faith, and he never did accept big fancy jobs and all. He would always go to congregations that needed a little help or were in problems. But it's not that I had all that faith. I didn't know not to, because he raised me to believe the Lord will look after you if you look after Him. So even with all the mistakes we make, He understands that, because the man He created in the Garden of Eden wasn't perfect.
No.
Somebody told me one time, said, well, I think I was about 5 years old. They said, well, God doesn't do anything that's imperfect. I said, He made Adam.
Yeah, boy, that's the truth.
Well, it's a faith to be admired, Ray.
But it's not. It's like I never had time to think about it, because before I would end one job, there was another one there. Even if the job that I had a date on it that it was going to be over, maybe I had to change towns or go back to school or something. The week I quit, there was another job. So I just never worried about it.
Well, Ray, we're going to bring back in Elvis here, and I would like for you to tell everyone the story about the day that Elvis told you how important he felt the Jordanaires were to his career.
Oh, well, I think we were working for Paramount, if I'm not mistaken, out in Hollywood. And it was a studio that was kind of underground, because we had to go up a ramp to get up to the street. I'd say you've got a 3/4 basement type of thing. And so we worked with him and everything, and a lunch break came. So he had started out to go to his car, and we were there, and he says, guys, come here just a minute. So we walked over to the ramp. Of course, he was up on the ramp. We were still down on the floor level. And he says, I just want you to know something, guys. I know that if there hadn't been a you, there never would have been a me. And he smiled and walked out.
That's fantastic. That must have made you all just feel fantastic. You must have been on cloud nine after he said something like that.
But it was no different than anybody else who would, you get them out of a parking ticket or something, because anybody's gratitude has the same amount of effect on you. He's had no different than anybody else.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
So now, can you tell us, a lot of people just think of Elvis and they think of his rendition of How Great Thou Art, but the truth is, Ray Walker, that you taught Elvis How Great Thou Art. Is that correct? Can you tell us about that day?
Well, the quartet taught him, but he had done some kind of a song, and then he stood up at the piano. He says, guys, I'm going to cut a religious album. Says, anybody got any suggestions? Well, I walked over I was close to the piano there, and I said, you really ought to record How Great Thou Art. He said, How Great Thou Art, I don't know. Well, see, a lot of people had not heard How Great Thou Art, because it wasn't introduced in the States until 1957. And here we were in 1960. So the George Beverly Shea, I told him that with Billy Graham, I said, he sings it on the crusades that Billy does, and we've recorded it, and we've tried to get every country artist that we work with to record it. And he said, well, I don't know the song, but if you think I ought to, I will. I said, Elvis, if you'll record How Great Thou Art, it'll be your signature song, and you'll be the signature of the song. He said, okay. So I went to the car to get a book, and so if the guys couldn't remember the words or me either one. So we stood there and taught him that song. He sat down to the piano about 3 hours, messing with chords. He didn't play all that well, but he was thinking. Finally, he said, let's cut it. So we had the Imperials and J. Cass and Millie and Winnie and Dolores on the session with us. So he got up, went to the microphone, and we started, and he sang it all the way through from memory. Now, I don't know whether he had a photographic memory or not, but whatever he wanted to know, he knew. And then we did 2 or 3 more takes, and they went back and took the very first take because it was so feelingful. He really was into it. So then I believe this was 1966. Yeah, I said 60. It was 1966. Anyway, he looked around and said, "You got another one?" I said, "Yeah. You ought to record Where No One Stands Alone." Yeah, so I got the guys. Once I stood in the night with my head bowed low, in the darkness as black as could be, and my heart felt alone, and I cried, "Oh Lord, don't hide your face from me. Hold my hand all the way," and so on. So we did the other, all 3 verses for him. And then when I got to the part that says, "Like a king, I may live in a palace so tall, with great riches to call my own, but I don't know a thing in this whole wide world that's worse than being alone." And I was to where I could see him just like not quite out of the corner of my eye, and he turned blood red, bless his heart, and then he turned as white as a sheet of paper, and he turned dark pink again, and then turned back. And I knew right then something was bothering him. And after the session, I said, "You know, if you're not careful," I said, "I told you on my first session with you back in '58, that if you're not careful, this business is going to kill you, going to get to you." He says, "I think it's already started." I said, "Well, that's what you said then." But he's such a great guy. You know, you never know. You just never know what you do when you do it, if you do it for the right, or even for the wrong person. The first time we do something could be the last time we ever do it. When we were working with Patsy Cline, and this was toward her first recordings for Owen Bradley and Decca Records. She'd been a Western success, you know, but she'd never had a big record. Well, anyway, Owen got her interested in doing ballads. So we were doing "I Fall to Pieces." So we got through, we rehearsed. So we started recording it, and at the end of the song, she says, "I fall to pieces," and the band goes, "Da da 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 da, I fall to pieces." Well, I just froze because she put a Western tag on that thing, you know. And she came over to me and said, "What's the matter, Hoss? Didn't you like that?" I said, "Well, do you want me to say?" She said, "Spit it out, Hoss." So I said, "Well, Patsy, you had us in the palm of your hand until you put that ending on there. It doesn't seem to fit." She said, "Well, that's what Owen said. He told me that he said, but I've been Western all my life." She was kind of stuttering a little bit, which she rarely did. She said, "I've been in Western. It served me well. It's fed me, and I'm just afraid to leave it." I said, "Listen, honey, Owen Bradley knows more what you can do in the business of music than you know yourself. You listen to Owen."
Yeah.
So she went back, and then she recorded a nice tag on it.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I would.
Good girl.
Yeah,
tough.
You're right. Yeah, Owen Bradley. Why would you question Owen Bradley?
Well, she was who she is. You know, she was a Western singer, a swing singer.
Right.
And boy, what a girl. Woo, tough. I love her children too. They're good kids.
You're listening to the TCB Radio Network podcast, where we're celebrating the life and memory of Elvis Presley with a mission to share his legacy with the world.
Hi, everybody. I'm Krista Joy, founder of TCB Radio Network, and I want to let you know that tonight's show is co-hosted and sponsored by PeterAldenEntertainment.com and PeterAldenLive.com. Peter Alden is a classically trained vocalist with a voice like velvet, who performs everything from country to pop while specializing in the golden era of rock and roll. Based in Orlando, Florida, but able to travel all over the world, he can come to you. Please support TCB Radio Network by hiring Peter Alden for musical entertainment or to MC at your next event. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Peter Alden Fans.
Now, weren't you on? You and the Jordanaires were on one of Ricky Nelson's last tours, weren't you? Weren't you touring with him in the 80s?
The only live show we did with Ricky was out in California at a theater out there.
Oh, okay.
You were on a couple of his tracks, but it was older tracks, I think, right?
Well, we did a lot of his recordings.
Yeah.
And it's come after he decided to go kind of country. Now we recorded with his sons.
Right.
Boy, what a couple of great little guys, man! They just
Wow.
great. And we also worked with Sam, his third son.
Wow.
We were in the studio there, and they played. They were playing a tape for us. Gordon said, "Tell them to cut Ricky off and let's get on working with Sam." I said, "That is Sam." Sam naturally sounded like his daddy.
Wow.
And what a good kid. Man, he's a good kid.
Well, let's head back to Elvis here, Ray. If you could just maybe tell us what you remember about the last time that you had a chance to see Elvis and really talk with him.
I think it was 72 because we didn't go to Vegas with him because we had too much work to do, and also our work was pretty solid, and we knew that if you started doing things like star stuff, that you go up and you come down quicker. So we stayed home, but we worked with him in 1971 at Studio A at RCA here in Nashville, replacing some voices on his country album. And then he recorded one more time. I think it was toward the winter of 72, and Neil couldn't come. Well, it kind of got to him, and he just canceled the session because he liked the four of us so much. And so it was 1972, I think, was the last time I actually saw him.
Well, and I read a story about him just being so excited to see you that he just ran up to you and gave you a hug.
Well, that was in 71 over at RCAA.
Oh, okay.
I got there a little early, and it was bright sunshine outside. Well, I had sunspots.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all of a sudden, somebody picked me up and just swung me around. Well, the guy told me later, the engineer did, he said, Elvis was sitting turned around backwards in one of these folding chairs. At RCAA, you had two steps up to the recording board and then a sofa down on the main level so people could watch the session and stay out of the way. And he said, Ray, when you walked in that back door, that Elvis stood up, stepped over the back of the chair, jumped over this railing, and banged through those doors. One of them didn't close till they both closed, and ran and picked you up and swung you around. I said, yeah, I couldn't even tell who it was. I said, I had sunspots I couldn't see. But he's such a feelingful guy, and he just that way, just a good guy.
Yeah, and you have memories of singing around the piano at Graceland. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, everybody had to do that. We sang some around the piano at Graceland. And one time we came in there, and it may have been that day. We walked into the entrance hall there, and there was a huge, one of these Vegas glass balls hanging from where that antique light used to be. And it was spinning round and around. It had a light shining on it so it would reflect. And Gordon said, what's that thing doing in a house like this? Well, Elvis was sitting about a third of the way up on his steps that went to the upstairs. And when he saw Gordon's expression, he loved it. He laughed. He loved jokes. And he didn't mind them being played on him either. Not at all.
Well, I don't want to put you on the spot. I was just wondering if, as a close personal friend of Elvis, do you have any final words about him or anything you really like people to remember in future generations about your friend?
Well, he never faked it. He was honest to the core, and always, if a situation came up to where somebody else had a chance to lose, he'd compensate for it so they didn't as much as he could. But he was so in the moment and unaware a lot of times, I think, of the problems he was getting himself into. But he's just a straightforward, honest guy and a lovely person.
There's a couple more things I wanted to talk to you about. I'm curious, Peter Alden, do you remember when you sang with Ray Walker?
Oh, of course I remember when I sang with Ray Walker. It was at Marion Cox Elvis Presley Memorial Dinner at the Peabody, and she was gracious enough to invite me. She invited me and a few other tribute artists, and we each got one song with the Jordanaires. We got to sing one song with the Jordanaires.
There's a YouTube video, Ray. I've seen it.
And it was just the one thing I remember is that we started the song, and I had actually at the time I was in a band called Crown Electric Company, and David Fontana, DJ's son, was my drummer, and we put a track because I sang "Fool Such as I" with you guys, and we took out all the vocal parts, and so that you, because you guys were going to sing live, and all I remember was I started the song, and when you guys came in, it took me a second to realize, oh my God, that's the real Jordanaires. It's not just some vocal guys on the track behind me.
Yeah, that was real kind of you. Kind of nutty, but kind.
Yeah, well,
it's amazing your knees didn't buckle and you didn't fall down right there.
No, it was great, and I just have to say, you guys were so gracious to all of us up there.
We've never, I just don't know how to explain it. We had a job, and it never dawned on us that we were famous. We didn't feel that way. It's like we were the next door neighbors, and that we protected our job as much as we could. But when we met somebody, there's somebody. One time at RCAB, I don't remember the year, but the Suits, the big guys, had come down from New York to give Elvis an award personally for one of his recordings. And at that time, he and I were standing over by the control room door. We were out in the studio part, not in the engineering part, but we were standing there, and he was talking to a man who was cleaning, sweeping the floors and everything. And the guy, was just talking with Elvis. Well, these three guys walked over, kind of like not in between them, but they would have been if he kept going, right to the side of them. Elvis not only did not shoo them away, he didn't even recognize the fact that they were there. And the little fella, he said, "Go ahead, sir." And so the little fella went ahead, and they finished their conversation. Well, after the fella left, went on about his business, Elvis walked over to those three guys and said, "Gentlemen, when you see me talking to someone, don't interrupt me. In fact, don't even come over to me. I'll get to you when it's your turn."
Wow.
He did not want anybody to disrespect another single person, because then he said, like Ray told me, every person is 100% of what he's got to deal with, and they deserve your attention and respect.
Wow.
Because we were talking about something one time about how attentive he actually was, and I told him that. I said, well, we have nothing to do with this. Our complexity changes every day, but every person is 100% of what he has to deal with. That's the way he's living. That's his life. And after meeting another person, that becomes part of his 100%. So he was just a grand person. We've been very fortunate. Very fortunate. Let me tell you a cute little story before we go. Are you through with me?
We got all the time in the world for you, Ray.
You can use this or not, because this is really kind of cute.
Okay.
said that Tiger Woods met Ray Charles. Well, now, we worked with Ray Charles, and one time, this is not part of the story I'm going to tell you, but we were working with him on the Steve and Edie show, and he was sitting there at his piano bench, and I walked up. He said, "Hey, Ray, how you doing?" He would always put on. And I said, he said, "Come here, boy." I said, "Don't call me boy. I ain't black." Well, he just rolled. He just rolled. See, we never had any of those problems in show business. We just didn't. So anyway, we walked over, and I talked with him a little bit. Well, said that Tiger Woods met Ray Charles. And Tiger says, "Man, I dig your music." Ray Charles says, "Well, I hear you're some sort of a golfer." He said, "Yes, I've been told, and I've won quite a few little things." He said, "Well, we ought to play sometime." And they said, Tiger said, "You can't play golf. You're blind." And Ray Charles says, "What do you mean?" He says, "When I go play golf, I have my caddy to go out to the green, and he sticks to me, and I tee toward his voice. And when we go up there and going to putt, he puts his voice down there close to that hole, and I just putt toward his voice." He said, "I'm a scratch golfer." And so I said, Tiger said, "Okay, I'll play you." He said, "But I got to warn you something, Tiger son." He said, "I don't play free. I play for $13,000 a hole."
Oh.
And Tiger said, "You're on, old man." And they said, Ray said, "Okay, pick a night."
That's awesome.
It took me a minute. That's fantastic.
That's great. That's great.
Can we put that on the show?
Well, that's up to you because it's a cute story.
Okay.
It's not true.
Okay.
It is.
You didn't get it.
That's a great
She
story.
didn't get it yet, did she?
It took me a minute.
I got it, Ray. I'll explain it to her later.
I got it.
You mentioned earlier, Elvis and Pat Boone were really good friends. And the Colonel would always point things out that could hurt his image. And so he said, "Well, it might not ought to get out," because he said, "Y'all are still rivals," because Pat met Elvis on one of his own shows before Elvis ever really got to be known. And said Pat walked up to him and said, "I hear you're going to be a star." He said, I don't know, sir, but you are a star." Well, Pat Boone never acted like a star. He's just a good guy. We were in the Lipscomb Quartet together in my first year, and one of the years we were roommates. But Pat is just still a great, great individual. And he said it wasn't anything at all. Elvis would go out the back door of his estate up there in Beverly Hills and go through the yards, and it wasn't anything at all for Pat to come home and find Elvis sitting there by his pool. He'd climb over the wall. So they were really close, and I'm really glad of that.
Yeah, that's great.
Is your name, Krista, are you a K or a CHR? How do you spell your name?
It's Krista.
Oh, good. If it were CHRISTA, it would be Jesus with a
Yeah. That's right. It's funny because my mom, I was born the day after Christmas, and so my mom named me Krista Joy, and it's kind of strange that she used a K, but I'm glad she did. I like the K better, and I don't want to be Christ with an
Well, I've got you in my phone with a K. I just was kidding with you.
Wow, I'm in his phone. Did you hear that?
Well, just till this interview is done, he's going to take you out of server.
All right. Well, you're good kids. Behave yourself, and I hope you're all well.
Thank you, sir. You too.
We'll be in Memphis in August just for a couple of days, but we'll be thinking of you because we'll be closer to you then. Because you're in Nashville, right?
Yep. Well, I'm in Goodlettsville, which is Nashville Metro.
Oh, that's excellent.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you for taking your time with us today, Ray. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you for it, and I hope you really do well, even better on.
Thank
now.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. What a great guy. I love this interview. We had so much fun with Ray Walker, didn't we?
Absolutely. Definitely a very interesting man and very funny, very personable to talk to.
We want to thank you guys for tuning in today and give you a little sneak peek. We have actually recorded interviews with a couple more famous people. We'll be putting those out very soon. The first of which, Bob Keeling, wrote a fantastic book called Elvis Ignited, all about Elvis's history in Florida. And Peter and I are planning a tour of some of these places, and we'll be bringing you video and more from those areas for the website. Also, we recorded an interview with Cynthia Pepper, who was Elvis's co-star in Kissing Cousins. And it was kind of fun because, Peter, you know Cynthia a little bit, right?
I do. I got a chance to meet her a few years back and have done a few events with her, but it was nice to have this interview and get to know even more about her than I did. So that was fun, and I think everybody's going to really enjoy it in a couple of weeks when it comes up.
Yep, we're looking forward to bringing you that, and we'll be spending some time with Cynthia in Memphis during Elvis Week, so we hope to get some videos and some more fun things with her for the show. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. You've been a beautiful audience.
Yep, we will see you soon on the next episode of TCB Radio Network. We'd also like to thank Lee Douglas of Old Time Rock and Roll, always found at www.oldtimernr.com. for converting our show to iTunes. We appreciate you, Lee. Be sure to check out Lee's fantastic site and listen to his weekly shows, all oldies music with no commercials. TCB Radio Network is strictly a fan publication, not affiliated in any way with Elvis Presley Enterprises or any of its affiliates or subsidiaries. Please visit us online at tcbradionetwork.com. All trademarks, product names, company names, and logos mentioned are the properties of their respective owners. All opinions stated within do not necessarily reflect the opinions of anyone else, and certainly not Elvis Presley Enterprises.
Still the King, our theme song for TCB Radio Network podcast, was written by Shane Douglas, produced by Terry Fullwider at Blue Spot Studios, and performed by Peter Alden and his band Crown Electric Company, featuring David Fontana, son of Elvis Presley's original drummer DJ Fontana, on drums.
And Elvis Presley is still the king. Well, he's still the king. That's all right. Man, he sure could sing. That's all right. Still the king. That's all right. The original superstar, burning up, rockin' hard, the one and only rock and roll king. The original superstar, burning up, rockin' hard, the one and only rock and roll king. Oh,